Hello, everybody. So today is a really good day. I had a really good chat with Daniel, our guest, and we go into a lot of lawyer stuff, but more mindset. It was very intriguing, and I took a lot from this. It was very insightful. So just a little context. We did have a conversation beforehand, and then a few things came up, and then we went right back into the chat as if we were already. So just a little cue for that. Other than that, feel free to listen to the end. Daniel gives a lot of good advice, but also like contact information if you want to actually, you know, contact him for help, for stuff. All right, here we go. So you said your dad, was like worked construction, right?
Oh, no, my father was a policeman
Oh, okay.
in
I thought I
Chicago
heard.
for
Okay.
32 years. Uh,
32 years, dang. So he saw a lot during that time. A lot of
he did
change.
see a lot. Yeah, he was there for the 1968 Democratic Convention when there's a riot in the streets.
Hmm.
My mother worked in a grocery store, putting together party platters for people. And
Okay.
then we're not exactly wealthy. Uh, I worked during high school and I graduated from high school, fifth in my class from the
That's
bottom,
impressive.
from the bottom, right?
Right.
So I was number 168 out of 172. So I guess you got to say I didn't really uh, give it my all. Uh,
Yes.
I was trying to make money working different jobs at the same time. And I really only just wanted to get through high school. I wasn't really thinking about the future thereafter. And then I worked construction. I
Ah,
used
there it is. Okay.
Yeah, I used to climb trees for the city of Elmhurst with McCullough chainsaw, and they got an extra 25 cents to go ahead and be an idiot and climb up a tree with a chainsaw. The good news is I didn't hurt myself, and I know when I was done chopping down a tree, and there's a crew there, and I was wondering as I'm taking all this wood and throwing it into the chipper,
Hmm.
uh, what am I doing here? This is about 3 years after I graduated from high school. And I looked over and I saw my buddy who got me the job. And I saw him standing next to his father. So I know why he was there.
Hmm.
I remembered my mother told me I'd be a good lawyer if I could just simply apply myself. So I thought, all right, well, let's try this college thing. And I went to college, and at that time, I thought I was going against all the real smart people because after all, in my opinion, my high school class, they were doing better than me. So I worked as if they were just geniuses I was going against. I went against, like I was going against Goliath,
Hmm.
uh, and I prepared really hard. And I didn't put things off. I did everything I could to succeed, and I surprised myself. And I got straight A's. And I got straight A's right through college. I
Nice.
wanted to become a lawyer, so I started the pre-law society at my college, Western Illinois University. And I majored in political science because somebody told me it'd be a good idea if you want to be a lawyer. And I also double majored in communications because I thought I had to learn how to speak. So I took classes in speech until there were no more classes to take. And then my professor came up with some classes we could do together, which would mean like every 2 weeks I had to give a 15-minute speech. And then
Okay.
he would correct me on my approach and how I do it and all this. And I think that was helpful later in my career when I became a trial lawyer.
Yeah, I want to say it's definitely the presentation as a lawyer, the communication, the emphasis, and the undertones are extremely important.
Right, I agree. And uh, I learned a lot from him. I went on to law school at UC Davis, and I was on as the editor of the Law Review, and which is prestigious. And I graduated in the top 10%. I was recruited to go to various law firms, and I went to one in Hawaii, and they called me up and they said, "Dan, we want you to come to Hawaii, spend 5 days. We'll put you up in the Ilikai get you a rent-a-car, spend 3 days getting to know the firm, and 2 days just to get to know the island. I thought, oh my God, it's a joke.
Right.
So I took the job, obviously, and I was there for a couple of years. But I really wanted to return to California, so I came back to Orange County, and I say came back to, it was my first time in Orange County, and I got a job with a big firm doing litigation. I learned how to, from in Hawaii and in California, how to do business litigation, how to learn how to present cases in court. I developed because I believe what drives me and drove me to be a lawyer was I just wanted to do the right thing for people, and I wanted to help people because it made me feel good.
Right.
So that attitude caused me to attract a lot of clients. So on St. Patrick's Day in 1984, I opened up my own law firm, and that firm is now 28 attorneys. And I formed that firm over 40 years ago. We just had our 40-year anniversary last March.
Congrats.
Yeah. And I think the lessons for my success are preparation, uh, diligence, uh, do everything you can and don't give up. And whatever you do, don't procrastinate. Because if you do, you don't know. If you think I'll do it tomorrow or I'll do it the next day, you don't know if you're going to have that kind of time the next day because something else may come in. So if you're just really prepared and you give it your all, it's surprising the kind of results you get.
Yeah. So what are some of the tricks that you can recall for procrastinations that kept you focused, even though the siren call of your bed was better? What were some of the mindsets or tricks you did to keep yourself on track?
Oh, actually, it's just I wanted to make sure I won. I wanted to make sure I did everything. I kept notes, and every time I had a thought, I would dictate that thought. It would be typed up into a memo, and then all my trial thoughts, I just dictate whenever I had some thought, or my trial assignments, I dictate that to the associates, and then I make sure I followed up on every one of my thoughts. At the beginning of my preparation for a given case, some of these thoughts could have been rather basic. And once I got involved in the case, I go, oh, hell, duh, yes, I understand that. But it just, I just always didn't have that much of a problem making sure I got the things done. I'm not a natural procrastinator. I'm just not. So I didn't have to fight the desire to go out on Tuesday if I felt I could do something to advance my case. And so I also, by the way, bringing business is a big deal for lawyers because you can be a great lawyer, but if you're under a rock, who's going to know it?
Right.
So what I did, um, I got a hold of the Orange County Business Journal, and I asked them if they'd like to have an article called "It's the Law." It comes out once a week, and they said that'd be a great idea. So I would write an article in the Orange County Business Journal every week about some new case that just came down and the impact that case would have on the readers.
Mm,
What that really did was it got my name out there. People go, oh, Dan Callahan. Oh, I see. Yeah, Dan Callahan. Oh. And I put together seminars, right? So I would do one for USC down south, and I do one for Stanford up north, and I get all these big shot trial lawyers, and they all want to show up on a seminar. They just want to be there, and so I could invite them, but I also save a spot for myself on a panel. And so all these guys are really big, so I guess Callahan's got to be pretty good too, you know. So I just by implication, I was good. Um, And then I did have success in a number of trials. I hit Farmers Insurance on insurance bad faith for 57 million. That was my first big case. After that, I had a 3 month jury trial with a unanimous verdict, a 3 month. And it was a $2 million breach of contract case that I spun into breach of contract, fraud, and two claims for economic duress. I amended the complaint in 7 weeks into the trial to add those two claims. The jury came back and they gave me my $2 million on the breach of contract. They gave me 300,000 on the fraud, plus $1.5 million in punitives. And on the third and fourth cause of action that I had 7 weeks in, I don't remember what the compensatory damages were, but they gave me 180 million in punitive damages on the third and 750 million in punitive damages on the fourth. So a total of 934 million, which is the highest.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I'd say it was something. Here's a little trick for you. I believe you should send out press releases, right? So the judge announces that he has a verdict. And would you like, we're going to read it today. I said, Your Honor, rather than read that verdict today, why don't you let opposing counsel and myself talk over the night about settlement? And since we had a unanimous verdict, we had four people, we had 16 jurors. At the last minute, four of them identified as alternates and they couldn't come. So why don't we let the court call them so they can come back and be part of the reading of the verdict and also give us time to talk about settlement. In reality, I didn't really want to talk about settlement. I wanted to send a press release out to everybody to say there's going to be a big verdict in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Reason I wanted to do that is because otherwise the press would get a hold of this verdict at 2:30 in the afternoon. Somebody would throw something together and that would be the story. After that, it's yesterday's news. But this way, the courtroom is packed, right? And then they had all day to interview me and to prepare a good story. In fact, both clients are publicly traded, and Beckman Coulter and Flextronics. And after the verdict was read, within 15 minutes, their stock stopped trading. They froze the stock. So there's a lot to talk about. And that way you can get the story out. So you have to be able to make sure when you do win, you get the story out. As I started out, you can't just be living under a rock. You got to really try to express yourself.
Right. Yeah, it's like an old analogy I heard. Essentially, you can have the best service or product, but if no one knows you, you'll never have a customer kind of thing.
Josh, that's so right. It's so competitive with lawyers, and there are so many lawyers now, and you have to be good at what you do and specialize in whatever you think you're best at. So I specialized in litigation. So I have the highest jury verdict in Orange County history at 934, the highest personal injury settlement in United States history at the time of 50 million, and the highest insurance bad faith judgment at 57, and for Orange County, and the highest employment for Orange County judgment of 38 million. So employment, personal injury, business, insurance bad faith. It's just all about being in a courtroom and presenting a case as a story to the jurors. So the jurors can really put themselves in your client's position and feel what your client must have felt. So
Yeah, that's a big one. Especially when I got summoned like a year or two ago, and that was a big one that that lawyer at the time was emphasizing. He's like, yes, we will present the facts and it's important, but it's truly what you need to feel what the person went through kind of thing. Now, I was a smart ass. It was like the father was spanking the child too hard and he was reversing his ring, so it was leaving a
uh,
mark.
uh,
And so the lawyer's like, how do you guys feel about that? I'm like, I was like 6 and my grandpa made me pick a switch off a lemon tree. Ring would have been nice compared to that.
yeah, I understand that. My mother had a ping pong paddle, and she also had a yardstick, you
Hmm.
know, that was broken. So yeah, things happen when you're growing up, and I think you
Right.
just adjust.
Right. And that's where the lawyer essentially dismissed me because he's like, he doesn't his expectation of pain is different than the child or whatever.
Oh
I was
yeah,
like,
right.
kind of thing.
Yeah, you thought that's no big deal. Okay,
I'm
really?
like,
That, and he reversed his ring?
right? I'm like, geez. But so what are the some of the you told me you were writing a lot for your tactics for memorizing and keeping yourself on track. What else did you do to keep yourself focused and while you were growing? Because I'm sure growing your firm, there were some growing pains in between.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like with any firm, there's ups and downs.
Hmm.
And not only that, you want your firm to succeed and you want to give it your best. But you have to keep in mind, many lawyers also have a family. And you have to split your responsibilities, and try to remember what's really important. And what's really important is probably not what you do in business, it's probably what you do at home. But that's hard, especially when you are committed like I am to win.
Hmm.
Uh, but that's a challenge. You just have to tear yourself away from the business and do things for your children and your wife. So that's, I guess that I hadn't thought about that until just now, but that is a real big deal.
Yeah, the work-life balance is extremely important. It's an analogy, a joke I told an old coworker slash supervisor. We may be humans and work like robots, but we are still just humans, kind of
Right.
thing. We
Yeah.
have
That's
feelings and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yep.
that was the biggest one. Like I helped that logistics company almost like 300x their output. I told them at that time it was pre-COVID. I said, dude, $100 is game changing for a W-2 worker on minimum wage. I'm like, can you afford that? He's like, oh yeah, that's like two steak dinners. I'm like, I don't know where you go. That's 250 for a steak dinner, but I want to try that place. You're paying though.
Really.
So he's like, yeah. He's like, so he took 500 a week, did a whole like I just told him how to gamify everything. Dude, 300x. And I said, just treat them like a human. That's it. They're not robots, they're humans.
That's right. That's a good point.
And that was just one of those I don't know if they're still doing it. I haven't gone back, but yeah, that was the biggest one. He told me he's like, "Thank you." He's like, "I forgot about that being higher up in the management tree."
Hmm.
What's
I think the only tip I could give young lawyers is to do everything you can. Uh, don't and be creative. That's that you don't want to just go lockstep through the CCP, California Code of Civil Procedure. You have to
Mhm.
really think outside of the box. And I can give you an example or two.
Okay.
Uh, I represented the SBA, an SBA lender,
Okay.
and the SBA lender had made a loan to this company in Irvine, California, and they were not making their payments. And the choices were you could file a lawsuit and they give them 30 days to respond. But the fear was they would unload their warehouse and factory and take everything south of the border.
Mm,
That's something that my client feared. So I said, okay, well, here's a thought. Why don't we just go ahead and do a self help repossession? So, under the law, you can go ahead and just collect your collateral if there's a default. But all the other side has to do is say no, and then you're stopped. So, what I did, I drafted a document, put it on legal size paper, called it Notice of Repossession, made it look like an official document, and then I signed my name to it, and I had my signature notarized. Yep, that's my name on it. And then I went to the Irvine Police Department and I got an officer clock. I said, I want somebody to come with me to make sure there's no breach of peace when we do this self help repossession. He said, I'll come. I'll make sure you don't breach the peace. No problem. So then I got a truck and a forklift, a flatbed truck and a forklift. And I also hired a videographer. This is before everybody had a video on their phone.
right.
And, and so now I put on my three-piece navy blue pinstripe suit, and we pull up behind the factory, and we come in like a wedge. It's me, and I've got the videographer on my right and Officer Cluck on my left, and I hand this notice of repossession to the person, And I told him, I represent the SBA. We're here to repossess the collateral that belongs to it. And your president, whose name I won't share with you right now, your president, he's going down. Now, if you want to go down with him, that's your choice. But if you identify the collateral that belongs to the SBA right now, I won't go after you. He goes, okay. Boom, boom, this, that, this one. Meanwhile, the other people are looking from other places in the factory. And I told the video guy, get that guy, get that guy. So
Hmm.
he's coming in everybody. We then loaded up the flatbed truck. And then unfortunately, my forklift ran out of gas. However, they had pointed out a forklift that was part of the collateral. So I used their forklift to pick up my forklift, put it back in the truck, got everything out of there, and then we left. A successful repossession. I got a call from the lawyer for the uh, factory
Hmm.
uh, that afternoon. And he said, what? Tell me, is it true all they had to do was say no? I said, yeah, pretty much. They said, oh, congratulations on your staying. But that's not in the record book. That's not something you see in the CCP. That's just trying to be creative.
Yeah, I would say definitely for how you look at things, the creativity is extremely important for that exact situation. There was a lot on the line if he knew and said no, kind of thing.
Right, right. But we showed up with so much force with a truck, with a flatbed, and all the equipment, police officer, videographer, and of course my three-piece navy blue pinstripe suit.
That's exactly what did it right there.
So
That's amazing. That's cool. Um, is there anything in particular we were talking about earlier that you're working on trying to get known within your firm or for others to know about too?
yes, and thank you for mentioning that. What I'm doing right now, I have Callahan and Blaine is the law firm that I formed. And it's very successful in Santa Ana, California. Uh, but I am now running Callahan Consulting Group that provides two services. Remember how I said I like to help people?
Hmm.
Well, so what I do, if attorneys, usually younger attorneys, somebody who's under 10 years experience, they need advice on trial tactics, trial strategies, and whatnot, I provide that advice. And I also, when there's larger law firms, they don't usually call very often. Usually it's a smaller law firm because if it's a larger law firm, they have their own internal people they can go to for advice and support rather than some guy they don't know. Although I may have a good track history, still they don't know me.
Right.
Uh, so I do that. And then the other thing the Callahan Consulting Group does is it works with clients that need a lawyer. Let's say they need a lawyer, a bankruptcy lawyer in Detroit, right? So I will look around for who I consider to be the best lawyer in that given specialty in that community. I will then interview two, maybe three, usually just two, and then I will arrange for the client with my assistants to interview the lawyers and let the client go ahead and make the decision as to who he or she may be most comfortable with. And then after they have decided to be retained by that law firm, um, then I stick around. And if there's ever any issue that needs to be discussed, then I'm available to intercede if needed. For the most part, though, the law firm and the client hit it off well. There's rarely that much for me to do. If some issue comes up, call me. I'm back in. Uh,
Right.
so I advise clients on how to pick a lawyer and help them with that. And I help attorneys on uh, figuring out trial strategies and thinking outside of the box. You know, is
Those
the
are
bottom line is,
extremely
yeah, the bottom line is you really got to know the basics first before you think outside the box. You got to know the inside of the box too. What you can do,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Uh,
You don't want to make up your own rules and it's all wrong and you're like, uh-oh.
yeah. Well, this may be too deep in the weeds for you right now, but I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Uh, let's say uh, that you are a defendant, you're being sued by somebody, and you want your insurance company to pay the cost of your defense. But the complaint alleged against you doesn't have any theories that would be covered. So there is no defense available. So what you do, you send out a request for admissions. Usually you send out a request for admissions coupled with interrogatories. But this way, just send out the request for admissions and say, please admit you have not suffered any damages for A, B, C, or D, all of which, by the way, would be covered under my client's policy. Well, no, these lawyers don't want to admit anything. So they go deny. In other words, they are implicitly saying that they have suffered damages for those covered events. So then you send them interrogatories. Please identify all the facts to support your denial. In other words, that would support coverage. And so now they have to put something together. Once they put something together under oath, I then send that to the insurance company and say, see, there is a possibility that there's a duty to indemnify. And if there's a possibility of a duty to indemnify, there's an automatic immediate duty to defend my client right now. And that changes everything in the lawsuit, because now I have Big Brother paying the cost of my client's defense. And I did that by somewhat tricking the other side into giving me an argument so I could present it to my insurance company. I hope that wasn't too deep in the weeds there.
No. That actually makes. I like how you presented that, because I've never thought about it that way. Where it's legal trickery. It's kind of the grayish area, but more above board. Where you essentially, because like you said, the nature of a lawyer, they're not going to admit anything.
Right.
So you're using that to your advantage, kind of thing.
Correct. Exactly. So there's that. There's so many other little tricks along the way that after 40 some years, I have a basket full of little odds and ends I can use.
That's amazing. That's really cool. I'm still thinking about that, the whole tricking the lawyer legally to say something. Is there anything else in particular where people could go to contact you, or
Well,
just
sure.
reach out?
Well, let me tell you, I can give you my cell phone number, and I'm not afraid to give that out, because if somebody calls me and I don't recognize the number, I let it go to voicemail. And if somebody leaves me a voicemail, I go, oh, okay, and I call you back. Right?
Mhm.
If it's spam, they don't leave a message. Right?
Right.
So if somebody wanted to get a hold of me, my cell phone number is 949-584-4434. And also, if they want to look me up, it's CallahanConsultingGroup.com.
I'll be sure to link your consulting group in the description for everyone.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. It's been my pleasure chatting with you.
An absolute honor and pleasure too. Here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Well, congratulations. You made it to the end. You're an awesome person. Not many make it here. So, being the awesome person that you are, can you do me one more awesome favor? Can you rate and review this on whatever podcast services you're using? If you do it on Apple and you leave an actual written review, I have a thing on my website. I will take your written review and post it for all to see. Congratulations, you're permanently sealed on my site. Otherwise, I am trying to do YouTube more and live streaming. I will try to put as many of the YouTube links in the description of the show as I can. So give your boy some extra help over on YouTube. Watch my videos. I just mute it and change the channel, change the window or something. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for being awesome, and see you next time.